to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another video. So today, instead of a book review, I'm going to be talking about books. But the books that I'm going to be talking about are the books on my TBR. Yes. I cannot believe we have like 4 months and roughly 2 weeks left in this year. My goodness. And I think that currently I am at like 33 books that I've read so far this year. And I started thinking about, how a lot of the books that I read this year, they weren't planned. They weren't books I even knew anything about until I either saw Rex or I read a book by an author and it made me do a deep dive into their work and like, oh, I want to read this book. Or I want to read that book. And like I've talked about before, I'm not really a person who plans out what I'm going to read. It's all about, when the mood hits me or what strikes my interest and things like that. But I did, for my own curiosity's sake, I did do I went through all of my books and I did like a cataloging of sorts. And I wrote down all of the books that I have not read that are on my shelves, as well as my Kindle. And y'all, I was so pleasantly surprised. It's not nearly as many as I thought. There are only 26 books on this shelf that I have not read. And there are only 17 on my Kindle that I have not read. So for a grand total of 43 books. So I only have 43 books that I have not read, And the first thing that popped into my mind after I got that number and felt it was so low, I was like, I should buy more books. Because that makes a whole lot of sense to bookish people. Like, what if I run out? Like, what if I were to read all these books before the end of the year? And then I start 2024 with no books, right? Like that's gonna happen. So anyway, after I went through the TBR pile, the to be read pile, I started thinking, maybe I should start to incorporate some of these unread books into my reading. I think I did that last year or maybe the year before, like the first year I started the channel or last year, I'm not sure. I went through and I didn't count the books, but I went through and I looked at books that I hadn't read and I started looking at the ones I had on my list for the longest. Well, not on my list, but that had been on my shelves for the longest. And I, made a pact that before the end of the year, I was going to finish them. And I did. I finished all except for one. But I ended up finishing the books and they were really good books. Dark Matter was on that list. I'd had that book forever and I finally read it last year and it was one of my top reads of last year. The Time Salvager, I'd had that one for a long time. So, I know that when I am getting these books that there's something that's drawing me to them, but for whatever reason, like when it's actually time to read, especially if I don't start reading it as soon as I get it in the mail or get it from the bookstore, if it goes on the shelf and I start doing something else or start looking around on my Kindle or looking at the book groups I'm in, 9 times out of 10, I have forgotten about it, at least temporarily. So I am going to share with you guys some of the books that I plan on reading before this year is out that have been on my TBR. My goodness. So what I decided to do is I'm going to take 2 books from the shelf and 2 books from the Kindle. I read more than 1 book a month, but I feel like I could, read at least one of these books per month over the next 4 months to at least get them off of my TBR, even if I'm doing reading in between. And so the first book, I'm actually reading it now and I'm almost done. I know all about this book and have probably posted the cliff notes from it or referenced it or something, but I never read it in depth, read each single page to find out, the true meaning behind its origin. And that book is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The 4 Agreements. It's a little bitty book. But as you can see, I've already started flagging pages in here. And this is a nonfiction book. And, the 4 agreements, because there are 4 agreements in the book and they're almost always like just in a graphic with just, the four of them listed without any context, right? And I'm really surprised that of my interpretations of the agreements without context versus what was really meant by them once you start reading the book. So I will be done with this one before the end of the week. So this doesn't count on my list of 4, but I just thought I'd share that with you guys. So I'll be talking about this on the channel soonish. Okay, so the first book from my shelf that it's going to be, that I'm making a promise, I'm crossing my fingers because this is hope, not lie. I'm not lying. I'm hoping that I am able to get through this one before the end of the year. And this one is called Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Behind Closed Doors. And this is it's in the mystery, suspense, thriller genre. So, that's my jam. So hopefully it grabs me. I mean, the blurb, it's another domestic suspense. It's in that subgenre. And the blurb caught me enough to make me actually buy this from a bookstore. So hopefully it lives up to my expectations. Okay, so the second book that from my shelves that I'm going to be reading, it's called She Started It by Sean Gilbert. She Started It. And this one, that's another suspense thriller. Y'all know I was on a thing with those books, and so I have several of them still on my shelf. But this one, couple of things about this one. First, it sounds like a revenge type book. There are 4 women that are lured to this island with the pretense of having a free, all expenses paid trip by another friend of theirs who was in a friend group. And it looks like a lot of secrets start coming out and stuff starts happening. And the last paragraph in this blurb says, endlessly twisty, sharply observant, and deliciously catty. She Started It is sure to shock readers into the very end. I hope so, because, I know how I feel about these endings in these books. And I still have not had a 5-star read this year. So hopefully one of the 4 books that I'm picking, maybe they're going to, be the ones. But the other thing I wanted to say about She Started It, maybe I can see that little logo right there, and they also put it here, they put it on their covers. But Book of the Month, the Book of the Month Club, I did get in that for a hot second. And I found it to be extremely affordable, especially for hardcover books, right? I don't know that I necessarily like that they put their logo on every book, but I got some pretty good books that I've read from them. And, they give you book credits. So you could end up like getting a whole free, book from them one month. And you can pause it if like you're getting too many books, you can cancel it. And I ended up canceling it because I don't know. First of all, I thought I had way more books that I needed to read. But second, there's only like maybe 4 or 5 books that you can choose from. And they're usually in different genres. And the last couple of months, I really didn't see anything that I liked. And then I'm feeling pressured to pick some random book because I skipped 2 months. So I just didn't know if it was really for me. So I have canceled that subscription, but I still have several of the books on my shelf, including She Started It. So hopefully we're going to get that one finished also before the end of the year. And as for the Kindle, the first one is going to be, which is actually the 3rd book. So the 3rd book, which is the first from the Kindle, is called Under Her Care by Lucinda Berry. Another domestic suspense book. I guess I'm just going all in with these domestic suspense books towards the end of the year. But the blurb, from what I can remember, because it's on my Kindle and I'm doing a side-by-side here, but from what I can remember, there's a murder and a woman and her daughter, and everybody in the town is pointing fingers at them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that one pans out as well. And then the last one, number 4, the second one from the Kindle, is called Life, I Swear. Now, this is a collection of essays compiled together by Chloe Dolce Luvuezo. Hopefully I didn't butcher her name. But I'm really looking forward to reading that one because it's a bunch of, like I said, essays and stories I believe nonfiction, if memory serves me correct, from, by, and about Black women. And I have heard so many amazing things about this book, and apparently it contains photographs and things like that. And I got it on my Kindle, but depending on, what kind of read it is, if I really enjoy it as much as I'm hoping I will probably purchase the book, especially if it has photographs, because that would be our coffee table type book, I'm assuming from what I've heard. So yeah, so those are the 4 books that I am committed to slipping in to my reading before the end of the year. And like I said, I have high hopes that amongst those 4, I can maybe find a 5-star read, but I'm still going to be reading other books. I'm reading a book right now in between that, but those are just books that have kind of popped up on my radar. And I just wanted to, show a little respect to the books that I already had, because I know it's a joke, and I see all these memes, among book lovers about how, our TBRs are like a mile long. But I do think it's important, to actually read the books. I don't know. Me and my family, we were talking about things that people collect, and kind of having a little debate about what's considered a collectible. And I started thinking about these books. I really love books. I love being surrounded by them. I love this little reading room and how I've color coordinated the books. It's a thing that brings me joy. It brings me peace, but I don't want to be just like a book collector, someone that collects things, that collect dust, and I never actually engage, with them. So yeah, I don't, because another thing we were talking about is because I think what started with watching the show, I don't know if it was Hoarders or what, but how when people pass away, and they leave all this stuff behind that other people may consider junk, my family, they'll read books every now and then, but not like I do. They're not like book lovers. So I get the feeling if something were to happen to me, that these books are being donated, or they're going to be, handed out to family and friends or whoever wants them, which I'm fine with that. I'll be gone, so I don't have any argument, but I don't want to leave them with a pile of mess to have to sort through and, figure out what to do or feel bad. Maybe they box them up and carry them to place because they feel like they're throwing away a part of me. This is my passion, and something I love to do. And every now and then I do purge. If there are books that are really old that I don't have any plans on revisiting, if there are books that they were just okay, and I don't have any sentimental, issues with them, because several of my books are autographed, so I won't be getting rid of them. But there are books that I do from time to time donate to the library and get rid of. So I just had a thought, after I read these 4, at the end of the year, I'm going to do another cataloging of books that I'm going to give away, so I can kind of pare down what I have before adding more, because I have a TBR that are books that I don't own yet. So I do have a long list of books that have been recommended, books that I've seen online, where I do screenshots and I put them all in a note of book recs, so I haven't purchased them yet. Some of them I've read online or read, through the Libby app, but, the books continue to come out, books continue to be discovered, recommended. So I feel like I'll always have a TBR in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, and who knows, depending on what books I decide to purge from my shelf, maybe at the end of the year I'll do a giveaway, for my subscribers. So make sure that you're subscribed, because if I find some, cool books or books that, that I feel that other people may enjoy, maybe I'll even take some of those off the shelf, especially if I don't have any intention of, rereading them. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you like this video, and if you have read either of the books that I mentioned today that I'm going to be reading before the end of the year, let me know which one you think I'm going to enjoy the most. Thanks again for watching. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.